If you're looking for side steps that have it all, good looks, capability, flexibility, an easy installation, and a great wow factor, then the Amp Research plug-and-play power steps give you all of that and more. These are a great way to get some extra access and protection on your 2020 to 2023 Silverado or Sierra 2500 and 3500 with essentially no sacrifice. Now we get a lot of side steps in around these parts, but Amp Research's power step running boards are not your typical side steps. These are, of course, as the name would imply, a powered step. They're designed to deploy the moment you open the door, and it's a cool party trick. The benefit of a power step like these is twofold. When they are extended, they drop down much lower than a traditional fixed side step, meaning that you have better access to the cabin or roof or bed of your truck. And when they're retracted, they sit up much closer to the rocker panels, creating more ground clearance and a super clean look. Since nothing is hanging down low in a fixed position like a more traditional side step or running board, having these has almost no impact on your overall ground clearance or your breakover angle. So if you happen to do some more challenging off-roading or overlanding, there's less of a chance of these getting snagged on something, and they're going to provide your rocker panel with similar protection to a side step or even a rock slider. Now these also deploy almost immediately upon opening the door, and by the time you've got it opened even a small amount, the boards are down and in their lowered position. And when you close the door, they stay down for about 3 seconds before retracting. Now if you want additional control, there is a manual override switch which you can get that allows you to manually control the boards whenever you want. But these have a few more tricks up their sleeves. The steps each feature a 600-pound weight capacity, so they can handle pretty much anything you could think of to throw at them. They also feature LED lights, a pair for each board to help illuminate the ground and the stepping surface, making it safe and easy for you to access your truck no matter what the conditions are. And the best part, the whole setup is pretty much entirely plug and play. These are designed to integrate with your OBD2 port on your truck, so you don't have to wire anything into the truck itself. You just need to plug a few things in and basically get this wired into the harness. Really, that's it. So it makes it super easy, and we'll touch on that more as we get into the video. The steps are constructed using die-cast aluminum, which is then anodized and finished off with a military-grade PTFE coating. The step surface itself is a massive 6 inches wide, and you've got a textured black coating over top of it for extra grip and protection too. You've also got those LEDs in there for extra visibility, and you get all the brackets, the wiring, and the modules that you need to get these set up. Pricing is about the only place where you should plan on sacrificing anything. Coming in at around $2,000, this kit does command a premium price, but it's certainly a premium option. And in my book, if you've got the room in your budget for these, I think they'll make a great addition to your build. They provide you more access, they're super sturdy, and they look cool to boot. Really, what more can you ask for? Installation gets a 2 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and the job should take you around 3 hours to complete. As the name implies, these are designed to be plug and play, and they will integrate with your OBD2 port like we were talking about a few moments ago. However, you are gonna have to route all of that wiring, you've gotta plug some stuff in, and you've gotta do a little wiring to get this connected with that harness. So plan on setting aside some time to get this done. Otherwise though, these are just gonna bolt right onto your truck, and you don't have to make any permanent modifications to get them installed. And now to show you that process step by step, let's head on out to the shop.
For this install, you will need a drill, an impact, a ratchet, an extension, T25 Torx bit, a 3/16 Allen bit, 10 and 13 millimeter sockets, wire strippers and crimpers, a clip removal tool, a measuring tape, a marker, and for how we installed ours, male and female spade connectors, also a 1/8 and step drill bit up to 19/64. What's up guys, today we're going to be doing some power side steps on our Silverado, so let's get started. Alright folks, so the first thing we're going to do to get started with this install is to install our wiring harness itself. So we're starting up here by the battery, which is on the passenger side of our vehicle. Now the first thing we want to do to keep everything safe is to come to our inline fuse on our positive terminal wire. We're going to open that cover up and pull this fuse out. Now, these are pretty stiff out of the gate. You can work them out. We're just going to set that fuse up here and off to the side. That's going to keep our whole circuit dead while we work on this, just to prevent any issues while we're installing. So once we have that done, we're going to remove the cover for our positive terminal section of our battery. So that has 2 clips. Just push those in, pop this up, set that aside for now. We're going to hook our positive connector up to the accessory power stud on our battery. Now this does not have a nut on it already, but your kit does come with one. So we're gonna hook that up and just slide that right through. We're gonna get that nut on there. And we're going to tighten that nut down with our 10 mil socket and extension. Once we have that one tight, we can hook our negative up. That's going to go right to the negative terminal of our battery. So once again, we use our 10 mil socket and extension. Remove this nut. Be very careful not to drop this. So once we have that removed, bring this over, that onto our stud. Reinstall our nut. Tighten that back down. Now we can cover our positive terminal section back up. So we'll just simply replace our cover. And once we have our terminals connected, we can plug our supplied unit ECU in. So we have a larger and a smaller plug. These are specific to their different shapes, so you have to line that up. Get that all the way in so it locks into place. You can also plug our smaller one in, just like so. And we're just gonna tuck this aside for now until we come back and clean up all of our wiring. We're gonna leave everything loose because you wanna make sure you have enough slack for any adjustments you need to make. So for routing the rest of your harness, you're gonna have a passenger and driver side leg of your harness. The driver side one is gonna be the one with the purple signal wires. So we're gonna have to route that over to the driver side. Now for your passenger side, I'm gonna get the ends. These are gonna be your motor connectors. We're gonna drop those down through the engine bay so they can route underneath the vehicle and get where we need to go. And there is a nice space right down beside our battery. Plenty of light, you can see straight down. Just wanna keep this out of the way of any hot or moving parts. You also wanna keep it to the outside of the frame rail. Now once you get it down to a certain point, you can go underneath the vehicle and pull it the rest of the way through. Now we're gonna bring the driver's side of our harness over to where we're gonna drop that through the engine bay. Now we're gonna route our driver's side down through the vehicle the same way as we did our passenger side. One thing to keep in mind on this side, you do have your steering shaft. You don't want the harness to be sitting on that and potentially rubbing. So however you decide to route it, just make sure it's out of the way of that, or at least secure it so it's far enough away. We do have quite a few bits of open space you can feed this into. Once again, once you get it low enough, you can go underneath the vehicle and pull it through. It's gonna be right by your fender liner most likely. So once you've got your harness routed through to the bottom of the vehicle, we next need to come into the cab so we can gain access to the point where our signal wires are gonna come through and hook up to our connector that we need to add in here. So we've got our body panel tool. We're gonna pop this kick panel off first. Now you can get right under this on the edge and lift it up. Now as you do this, your outer seat trim will come up with it. That's fine. Just wanna move that out of the way. Then you can pull your kick panel out. And once you have your kick panel out, you will need to pull up your carpet to find this rubber grommet right here. That's part of your parking brake assembly. We're gonna notch a little hole in it so we can send our signal wires through from the bottom. All right, so now we've got ourselves a razor knife and we're just gonna notch a hole in this grommet. Pretty straightforward. That's gonna open up a nice little section for us to pass our wires through. So now we're gonna open this up by hand or with a screwdriver if you need to. We're gonna grab our purple and purple with black stripe wire. Pass those under the truck. Now it's kind of hard to see. We're gonna get those through into the cab. Once you have those through, pull those all the way up. So once we've got our wiring through, we need to connect it to our OBD2 plug-in, which is gonna be our signal for the operation of our steps. Now your kit does come with some inline screw type connectors. However, we're gonna be using our spade connectors, male and female. So we've got our wire strippers and crimpers. We're gonna strip back some sheathing and get those installed onto our wires. So, expose this. I always like to give them a nice little twist after exposing the wire. That prevents any stragglers. Makes it a little bit easier to get into these connectors. So we're gonna put our female side on here. So that's gonna go right into our connector. We'll grab our tool and crimp these down. Now once you've got them crimped, I like to give a little light tug just to make sure it's got a nice bite and connection. Now we're going to do the same thing for our harness side wires, except adding in our male spade connectors. Now these connectors do not come with your kit, but they are readily available at any auto parts or hardware store for a couple dollars for a big pack. They're nice to have and they make your kit a little bit more modular. So we're going to install this and we'll get this crimped down. And we'll do the same thing for our last wire. Now once we've got our connectors on, we're going to match these up. So our purple wire on our harness side is going to go to our purple wire on our OBD 2-port side. These are just going to plug in like so. And our purple with black stripe, same deal. Okay. Now once we've got this connected, you can plug this straight into your OBD 2 diagnostic port. It's going to be right under the left side of your dash. It's going to plug right in. And once we have that plugged in, we can tuck our wires and reinstall our kick panel. Now we're going to tuck our wiring underneath our carpet. Keep everything nice and clean and out of the way. You want to keep this out of the way of where your kick panel is going to go as well. Next we can reinstall our kick panel. So we'll line that upper part up first. And once again, you do want to pull up on your seat trim to allow the kick panel to go under that. Clip that back into place. So before we can install our motor drive bracket and idler bracket onto the vehicle, we need to install the motor itself onto our bracket. Now you want to install this at about halfway extended. So if this is fully extended, this is closed, we're going to go about straight down with our pivot brackets. We'll grab our motor. Now you want to make sure you're grabbing the one where when this sits on the truck, we're on the driver's side, the front of the vehicle is here, the motor drive is going to face towards the front of the vehicle. We've got our 3 T25 Torx screws. We're going to line up our motor this way. Get these started by hand. And we're going to snug these down with our T25 Torx bit. Now before we tighten this one all the way down, we're going to tighten the other two. Now that'll lock that in that position. The motor's flush and fully installed. All right guys, so now we're underneath the truck at the rear section of our rear door. We're going to be looking for our mounting points. Now you'll notice there is a section with 2 or 4 plugs and a larger one in the middle. We're going to be going to these 2 rear plugs. Not every truck has these, so if you don't, you can use these more forward ones. We're going to grab a small pry tool, get these plugs out. So sometimes you can be really stubborn, so we've got a clip removal tool. It's going to make things a little bit easier. Get these out. Once you have these out, we can line up our motor drive bracket. We're going to grab 2 of our provided 13mm combo bolts. We get one in up top first. So lock that in place. We're also going to have one directly in the middle in the bottom. Once we have both of these in, we can grab a 13mm socket on our ratchet and we're going to tighten these down. Now once you have this one tightened down and in place, your front idler bracket is going to go at the forwardmost mounting point and mount in the same way with the 2 bolts. So now once you have everything bolted up, we can grab the connector at the end of our harness, plug that into our motor, get that fully seated, and then we're going to lock down this tab. So now we can set our board in place. So we've got it flipped over to show you how it mounts. That's going to mount with these double nut plates that slide along this inner channel. So we're going to line those up once we flip our boards over and get our provided 3/16 Allen head bolts in place to secure it down. All right, so now we've got our nut plates lined up with our mounting brackets, so we're going to install our 3/16 Allen screws. Get our first one in, second one in. Now before you tighten these all the way down, you want to make sure your boards are sitting where you want them in relation to the vehicle. And once you've got that set, you can grab your 3/16 Allen bit and tighten these down. And once you have this side bolted down, you can do the same thing for your front bracket. All right, so now that we have our boards installed, it's time to prep for installing our accent lighting. Now when doing this at home, you will be drilling through your pinch welds to pass the wiring for the accent lighting through that. For demonstration purposes, we will not be drilling through our pinch weld. However, we will explain the entire process to you. So what you're gonna need first is a tape measure and a marker. And you're gonna measure 8 inches from the back of the forward bracket and 6 inches from the front of the rear bracket. So we'll mark that out on our pinch welds. There we go. Right here. That's 8 inches. Then we'll do 6 inches from the front of our rear bracket. Now once you have this marked out, doing this at home, you'll want to measure down a 1/2 inch from the top of your pinch weld and punch a mark there, and then take a 1-inch drill bit for your pilot hole, drill through that with your drill. Then you want a 19/64 drill bit to drill the final hole. You can also use a step bit to enlarge the hole a little bit more to allow for easier pass through. Then once you've got that done, we can start connecting our lights. Now this is important, doing this at home, you'll want to pass the wiring for your accent lighting through your pinch weld before making any wiring connections. And on the other side, on your main harness, you will have a matching red and black wire for the front and rear accent light. We again are using our spade connectors, and since we're not drilling through our pinch welds, we're going to add ours now. The process is the same whether you're already through the pinch weld or doing it as we're doing it. So we've got our connector on. We'll crimp that in place. Once again, give it a little tug just to make sure it's secure. Now that we've got that on, we can add our connectors to our other side. Now these do not come pre-stripped, so we'll strip back some sheathing. Give them a little twist. Crimp these in place as well. Now these are the female ones, so they'll match up with our male on our lights. Once you've got that secure, match up our red and black wires and connect them. Red to red and black to black. And you do have an adhesive backing on this, so you want to take the cover off of that, like so. Now again, this will be passed through your pinch weld at home. You're going to mount them the same exact way on the bottom part of your rocker panel. You want to line that up with the mark, get that to a place where it's going to stick good. Now once you have this one all hooked up, you can do the same thing for your rear accent light. Now once you've got everything hooked up for that first side, you can repeat the same process on the other side, and we're going to come back into our engine bay and reinstall our fuse and activate our circuit. So we'll come back to our fuse holder and reinstall that fuse. All right, so once we've got our fused in, you want to check your functionality, make sure everything's operating as it should. Now we can come back and clean up our harness. So a very easy place to mount this is going to be along this loom that's already present, and your kit does come with zip ties. We'll just run this through. And you want to install a few of these and hold your new harness up along the top of this. You can cut off the excess with a pair of angle cutters. And once you have your whole harness cleaned up here like that, you can also tuck in the harness down by your steps. Feel free to make it your own, tuck it however you want it, make it look nice. Just make sure to keep it, again, away from any hot or moving parts. Also, don't use brake lines to secure your harness. Other than that, we're good to go. Alrighty folks, that about wraps up our review and install of our Amp Research plug and play power step running boards for your 20 to 23 Silverado 2500 HD double cab and crew cab. Thanks for watching, and as always, for everything Silverado, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.